Hey, and welcome. Okay, so I really want to do a video today on the rise of what I call faux luxury. And although I guess I just want to caveat this video by saying that I fully understand that there are things out there like perfume, like makeup that is quite hard to formulate. A lot of effort and time goes into it. Can be really premium depending on the ingredients in it and the way it's finished and the way it looks when it's done. But I guess what I'm particularly paying attention to in this video is packaging and branding and marketing. And I'm a sucker for marketing. I definitely fall for marketing all the time. I once bought 4 liters of juice because it was on deal. Okay, so I wanted to do this video because I feel like there's been maybe in the last 10 years or so, there's this massive infiltration in the market of things that are supposedly premium or luxury products. And especially in India where I am right now, I'm seeing this everywhere where you find really common sort of items, things lipsticks or soap or perfume, skincare, things that are quite everyday items that have you can like any market you can get very very cheap ones, but you can also get crazy expensive or really high end ones. So I am a sucker for branding. I love things being branded. I love marketing. I understand that I kind of I fall for it very easily. I think if something is sold to me as an amazing thing, I quite often will go ahead and be like, wow, I guess I just need this thing. Well, until recently. And I guess what I'm noticing is that there are a lot of products out there that look like they're meant to be rich. I say this particularly because I've seen a lot of Indian brands that have things like lots of gold finishes or very minimalist color schemes or just very weighty packaging, and are sold at this crazy premium and said, well, this is what is a luxury item. And I can see a lot of people buying these items and saying oh, this is a luxury item and this is something that if I buy, I look like a luxurious rich person, or I look like the kind of person who can afford to buy something that is a disposable item but that's very very expensive for what it is. And I guess this is something that I wanted to break down a little bit because it's I think what's happening is that there is what I call a rise of something called faux luxury, where it looks like it's a luxurious thing, it looks like it's something high end, it is priced as something that's quite high end, but not only is the quality quite bad, a lot of the time it's actually just tricking us into believing that this is something that we need. Okay, so I was listening to a skinfluencer recently who said that she heard someone say that this very expensive lipstick is something that they could pass down to their grandchildren. She had overheard someone else saying that, and she was explaining why you should never pass a lipstick on down. Um, Pass on lipstick or any other personal sort of hygiene item. But I think the thought behind that was that having something that you know is that you can pass down to other people, or having something that you can um keep and give to your grandchildren or um children, is something that is seen as sort of old money stealth wealth aesthetic. And I think a lot of people aspire to that, um of being living like the ultra rich or having lifestyles like the ultra rich and being able to pass down something that is an heirloom piece. Now it's this exact sentiment that I think is the heart of what our buying culture is all about. Somehow, if you are able to buy these things, you join a traditional old money club of people who have the ability to pass things down through generations, like actual wealth. And this lipstick or other things are symbolic of a class that you may be able to aspire to be part of. Okay, so my issue with this is twofold. First, there is a lot of marketing and a lot of promotion and a lot of a machinery that goes into making sure that people want these sort of items. So that's in terms of everything. That's in terms of the kind of the names that things are called, the way it's packaged, the way it's presented, the way it's advertised on TV, on social media, the way celebrities wear these things. It is all in our ether to make people believe that the buying things or having these things is something that you should want, that you should aspire to, and if you don't want or have these things, that ultimately you're some kind of failure. And the kind of marketing that goes into this, especially around like very young people or with kids, it really bothers me because a lot of the time young people or children cannot afford to buy these things. They are something that they might want, but in reality, it's priced way out of their price range. It's not something that they can have, but it's kind of forced on them that like if you buy these things, that you are able to join this elite club of people, that you're able to live this kind of lifestyle. When in reality, that's just not at all true. The second is that, and this is a quote from the Guardian, is that it is kind of a class issue, with the unspoken promise that if we spend the equivalent of the price of a new car on our new jumper, we too might gain access to a world that doesn't want us. And the true problem with much of this is that there is a far more sinister sentiment being exploited here. No matter how much you spend on a sweater or a new lipstick, it's highly unlikely that you'll actually be able to buy yourself into a higher social class. You may look and feel the part, but privilege goes far beyond clothes and shoes. And often people bankrupt themselves in order to try to maintain a lifestyle that is just simply out of reach for most of us. In fact, for most people, as the Guardian opinion piece sums up, we try to wear clothes like the super rich, but in reality, they're just laughing at us. So now with any product, there's this how long is a piece of string sort of question. You could buy a face wash that's £1. You could also buy a face wash that's like £20. And I'm sure there's face washes that are 100 or £200 as well. I'm sure there are. And there's something pretty much for everyone in between. And that's true for almost all items. You can buy things for very little, but you can also buy things at a very high premium. And there's quite often a very big difference between the lowest priced item in a market and the highest priced item. And it's true that with certain items, you can actually tell the difference between what a base version looks like and what the premium version looks like. So, for example, clothes. I think a lot of people do shop fast fashion, and when you look at a lot of fast fashion items, they do tend to like fall apart off easily. Sometimes they're not always like stitched very well. The fabric is often quite cheap, and they may not last very long. With slightly higher quality items that you buy from different kinds of clothing outlets where the material is better, where it's things like cotton or wool, or it lasts longer. Those kind of items do actually last a little bit longer, so you can tell the difference in the quality. But you may also just like something that's more expensive, and that's okay. The truth is, a lot of things have hyperinflated premiums on them. So it's not at all worth the cost of what you're paying, but for a lot of the time, you aren't even paying for something that is good quality. So it is possible to buy things that are actually very similar to fast fashion that are just sold with a premium label or with a designer name on them. And actually, they're not very good quality, but they're actually just sold to you with like an excessive premium on them. So only last week I was trying on some clothes at a designer boutique in India. The material was tacky, the fabric didn't quite fit, and the stitching was coming undone as I tried it on. So this was somewhere that was charging like a very high premium on some dresses that were very much fast fashion quality and probably were made at the same place as a lot of fast fashion items, but the ultimately the price difference in what a fast fashion item costs and what this cost was huge, and that's money that's not going towards people who made the items. It's not going towards like actual seamstresses or like people who work in the garment industry. So often what you are paying for is a feeling or a label or an idea. And the best summary I've seen of this sentiment is a note by Leslie Stevens on Substack, where she says, "One of my favorite questions for curbing unnecessary clothing purchases is ask yourself, what am I really trying to buy? Ask, what am I really trying to buy? It's not a secret, but it's easy to forget that marketers are really selling you on the lifestyle any given object will give you. When shopping, I try to catch myself and ask, what am I really trying to buy here? Cute hiking shorts is likely more time outside. A bikini is a day at the beach. Lounge pants is more time relaxing on my couch with tea, and then give myself that without the purchase." There's a lot behind the mindset of why we buy the things that we do. Very rarely do we actually buy products because we like the actual product. Often we're buying into a lifestyle, we're buying into an idea, we're buying into a life that we see ourselves inhabiting once we buy this particular product. And marketers know this and they use this. It's something that is used to to their advantage to help drive sales. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a very pervasive thing. Recently, the BBC ran a story about how a lot of very young children, sort of under the ages of 10, are getting into buying things like retinol and really fancy skincare, which is being sold to older people, sort of my age. Um, but I think with kids being able to see this sort of like advertising online, it's something that they think they need when actually children's skin is very young, it's very tender, it doesn't need the kind of skincare that older skin does. And when they interviewed the kids who were buying these things online on TikTok or on Instagram, they were finding like nice, sort of like quite expensive skincare products and putting them on. Um, a lot of the kids said that they actually just enjoyed the packaging. They liked the way it was marketed. They liked the colors. They liked the bottles. And I can see that it's as somebody who does consume skincare, a lot of packaging and a lot of the like marketing around skincare is very delicious. It and that is something that it basically, if you're not careful, can really spiral someone into buying stuff that they just don't need, and it's actually in a lot of cases bad for them. I also read an article recently about people who have plastic surgery, so things like lip fillers or like tucks or Botox. A lot of the time, again, those procedures are being marketed and targeted to exploit someone's very specific insecurity. So someone might have an insecurity about their skin or their face or the way a certain feature of theirs looks or their nose. And a lot of at least cosmetic plastic surgery really pushes this idea of if you have this insecurity, here's a way to fix it, and you can always buy your way into looking better or having something that takes that feeling away. And I guess what the really problematic thing is in this is that you cannot buy your way out of a feeling. And I think that's my core problem with this is if you like certain things, you want to, if you want to get some plastic surgery, you want to buy some skincare, that's totally fine and you should do it. But ultimately, the reasons for why you're buying those things should be driven by you actually wanting that thing. But trying to escape a feeling by buying your way out of it is a surefire way to A, land up in debt or in a precarious financial situation that you're not comfortable with, and also really a recipe to making you unhappy. And there are lots of ways to enjoy an activity without a consumer label. So, for example, someone who I love very much on the internet called Chelsea Fagan did a whole thing recently on her personal Instagram stories about how she is doing a gallery wall in her house, and there's lots of elements that go into designing or having a nice living space that don't actually come with purchasing. So things like she was talking about, like finding fabric swatches and coloring, drawing out how she'd like a space to look, and looking through Pinterest and finding ideas and cutting out magazine bits to make a scrapbook, to then visualize the kind of space that she wanted, and then purchasing a few small items when she needed them, or in a lot of cases, finding thrift pieces or finding secondhand giveaways from people, finding Facebook Marketplace, finding things from a community that she was able to use to decorate her home. And I think that that sentiment is super useful because not only are there a lot of ways to enjoy things, I think there's this push that the way to enjoy things is to buy them or to spend money on them. So if you have a hobby, the the understanding is that you go out and buy all the hobby things that you need, and then you can start on the hobby. Or if you want to look better, that you need to buy a whole new wardrobe. If you wanted to wear more makeup, you'd have to buy all these new items. When actually, in reality, you can often start off with very, very small, very little things, and then try out something way before you invest in like buying a whole lot of stuff to enjoy a particular new hobby or new interest. And it's also when you get into the habit of buying your way out of feelings, or you can buy your way into having new opportunities, it is also super easy to overspend. And this is true for normal people like you and me, but it's also true for people like celebrities. I was reading a book recently called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, where he says singer Rihanna nearly went bankrupt after overspending and sued her financial advisor. The advisor responded, was it really necessary to tell her that if you spend money on things, you will end up with the things and not the money? Ultimately, luxury is something that you have to like define for yourself. And having a lot of expensive things, I'm sure it must be fun, but there's also other things that you should take into consideration, like having the health or the time to be able to enjoy your luxury. Now, these things sort of often operate on a sliding scale. So often, when you have more money, you can pay for the convenience of having someone do other things for you. So you can often pay for like things like a cleaner, you can pay for someone to cook for you, you can afford to order more takeout. You can do things that, if you have more money, are just accessible to you. Whereas if you have less money, you also often have less time. So it means that you're often having to buy things that are cheaper or look for sales, which are also an investment in time. Ultimately, finding the scale of what is the right balance for you between having the right amount of luxury and having the right amount of time and health to manage that is a is something that's very personal to you and that you can only define for yourself. And once you've kind of like budgeted to have lots of fun in your life, or you've budgeted for the things that are really important to you and kind of set aside money to have fun or to enjoy in the way that you want to, then it's kind of up to you. If after all that you decide that actually buying like premium lipsticks or buying premium clothes or buying things at a very high price point gives you joy, makes you happy, helps you look and feel a particular way, then by all means go forth. But um, I think the feeling of feeling inadequate if you can't buy those things is something that I really think we can challenge. And ultimately, what feels like a billionaire lifestyle might be well out of reach for the most of us. But having a life that feels fun, easy, and even extravagant while living within your personal means, that may be the most luxurious thing of all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I have a couple of other videos that talk about things in a similar vein. There's one about minimalism and money, and there's one about how I would actually spend millions if I had it. Thanks for watching. If you want to hear more, please sign up to my newsletter, the link to which is in the description below. And if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.